Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Sphere Rocket Podcast Network, your go to destination in exclusive conversations with the top tier real estate professionals. I am your host, Sweet, and today we are joined by a very special guest with us and a very distinguished client of Sphere Rocket. Please welcome Beau Eckstein. Or, sorry, please welcome Beau Eckstein.
All right, thanks. I always mess up names too, so but you can actually say it both ways. So you were correct.
Yeah, I was thinking Einstein. That's why. So yeah, thank you so much, Bo, for being here in the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to learn from you as well and be inspired with your success stories. But before that, I usually start every conversations with asking what is your favorite, like your go-to meal after a long day of work.
So lately, it's been either Mediterranean or Greek type of food. So I like kebabs, and that's somewhat healthy, right? And I've got like three kebab places. I live in Las Vegas, so there's a lot of food. Either that or Mexican food, or what I go to. Well, I should add in the third variable would be sushi. Those three foods are what I mainly eat.
Love that. Made me hungry right now. I was actually craving for like a kebab for a very long time now. It's really great. Like comfort food, like with all of the spices. So I can totally relate with you.
I also love lumpia too. I should say that, but that's not healthy. It's really good.
It's not
I love
a
lumpia.
guilty pleasure. You can have that like your guilty pleasure. Or also there's a healthy version of that actually here in the Philippines. It's called fresh lumpia. So with all of the fresh ingredients, fresh wrapper, you wrap it with, vegetables, lettuce, carrots. So everything is fresh. So it's based on the name. Yeah,
That
maybe
sounds
you
good. I'll
can.
look at.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much again, Bo. So going back now to our podcast and with our talk, of course. So, yeah, so can you introduce yourself a little bit, Bo, with what is your business background and what was the history of you entering the real estate business?
Okay, got it. Well, I started when I was 20 years old. I'm 46 right now. I started as a residential mortgage broker, and I liked the industry. I didn't go to university. I just got into. I always knew I wanted to either be in real estate, be a farmer, or be in law enforcement. And I ended up in real estate. And so, but now, well, I'll tell the little backstory. But now I actually don't do that much real estate. I still am a real estate broker. But basically, um, started in the mortgage business when I was 20 years old. Was pretty good because I was always good at building rapport. And so I started as a telemarketer actually for a mortgage company. And then I quickly realized I was making a lot of money for all the loan officers. So I got my license to originate loans. In California, you had to have your real estate license. So I did that for many years. Then I became a real estate agent, and I did both. And then I got my broker's license in 2007 in California. And then the downturn in the real estate market happened around 2008, 2007, 2008. And then I got into doing lending for investors because back then there was a lot of foreclosure. So then I started making hard money loans to the investors to do the flip the houses. And then I said, oh, well, if they can flip the houses and make all this money, why can't I? And then I started flipping a bunch of houses. I ended up doing a house flipping TV show on HGTV, which was called Flip It to Win It in 2013 and 14. Then I got into doing more commercial lending. Then I got into doing SBA lending, which is business loans. Then I also opened a franchise consulting business where we help people buy franchises. So today, my business is mostly SBA loans. So I'm helping people buy self storage, start businesses from scratch. And then I also help people find their ideal business, buying and investing in franchises. I have experience in flipping houses, owning real estate, funding commercial real estate, funding residential real estate, pretty much everything real estate. But I've kind of catered now to more of the business client because I believe that everybody should own an operating business and everybody should. So I believe in what I call the triangle method, which is basically tax strategy, uh, real estate, and owning operating businesses. So that's what I do. those kind of things. So I've been all around this for 26 years, basically.
Wow, that's so great. 20 plus years in the industry and you've did a lot of things, a lot of different areas. So what caught my attention is the house flipping cuz I'm also a big fan of flipping houses and yeah, so with flipping houses, what was your favorite house that you have arranged and basically flipped? So, the like your favorite like someone or like very close to your heart.
Yeah, so I would say there was a house that I found in Northern California, and it was on a like a larger lot. It was like a half acre, and it was an old, really cool. Had a lot of like grapes growing in the backyard, a lot of fruit, vegetables, and it was like an old farmhouse type of style house. So we went in and we added like a long driveway for RV parking. We knocked down a lot of the old structures, completely remodeled the inside, and it was just like an amazing house at the end of it. And I still, this was about 12 years ago now. Actually, that show was actually, I mean, that house was actually featured on HGTV. We actually renovated the house, and it was showcased on HGTV back in the day. This was 11 or 12 years ago, 2013 probably. Yeah. So that house sticks out because I wish I would have kept that house. I always wish I would have kept more of the houses that I flipped, because I believe that you flip real estate, but you should also keep, like, for every two or three that you're flipping, you should keep one, because really flipping houses is good. You make a bunch of money, but you pay a higher tax on that here in the States because it's short-term gains, right? Versus holding real estate long-term is a better kind of financial play. But of course, everybody has a little bit different story. So I'm glad I had those experiences. I don't flip many houses anymore, but I would. I'm not. It takes a certain person that wants to manage the construction, and I'm not that I'm lazy for it, but there's a better way for me to make money now. But I am looking for one here in Las Vegas right now to flip, or to at least remodel and maybe move into. So there's different strategies to create wealth. And I think understanding construction and renovation is a great skill to have. And I would say I'm decent at it. I'm not the best, but I've learned a lot. I've never really, my hands are soft. I don't do any of the work myself.
Love that. Yeah. And with that, with a lot of flipping houses, doing a lot of things in the real estate business, of course, you are like what you've said. You're not doing like the handiwork, so with all of the flipping houses. So basically, you really have some people who are helping you, and also, of course, with now with the digital age, we are incorporating like virtual assistants with our business as well. So can you share to us some experiences that you have specifically with hiring a virtual assistant in Sphere Rocket? Like, first, how you stumble upon Sphere Rocket?
You know what? I was probably one of the pioneers, because I've had my virtual assistants from Sierra Rocket probably almost when they started. So I've had two. I think it's been about 5 years. I forgot when Sphere Rocket started, but I've had the same two for almost 5 years. And I've had virtual assistants prior to Sphere Rocket too. Um, I was an early adopter to working with virtual team members, I would say. And to this day, I have 3 full-time virtual team members, and I also outsourced other one onesie twosie type of projects. Um, and so I will continue to grow a virtual team, because that's the way. I don't want to have a bunch of local employees, right? With all the legalities and politicians and what you need to do. And it's so much easier having kind of what I would call independent or contract work. Although I have 3, full-time people in the Philippines right now, it works out very well for me. And I believe everybody, the first step is to figure out what you need to do to free up time so you can work on the bigger projects that can create more wealth. And then, ultimately buy back your time, as Dan Martell says. He's got a good book called Buy Back Your Time. And it's a lot easier to buy back your time, because the, $1 in the US is 50 pesos, give or take, right? In the Philippines. So in the Philippines, we can pay a good salary, and we get more for our money. So it's a win-win, right? Like we're getting the best of both worlds, and we're also helping people in the Philippines. Because a lot of people go, well, the salary is different, right? But it's really not when you really think about it, because the cost of living in the US is crazy expensive, right? And so I've done a comparative of like what I pay my virtual assistant, and they do fairly well. And so it works out really well for entrepreneurs who, as you're getting started, some of them don't have a lot of money here in the States, and hiring their first person virtually makes a lot of sense. And then once they figure that out, then they're like, well, I'm just going to scale a team overseas, and the Philippines is perfect for it. I think because one is the culture there, in general, very loyal and friendly people, right? And they have the same and better skills than we do at most of the stuff we need help in. So it aligns with us, and like the culture's kind of adopted, it seems like, kind of the virtual lifestyle, where they're okay working the different hours. It fits their schedules. They're okay with so everything really aligns well. I have nothing but good things to say about all my experiences. I think early on in my career, I didn't realize that you need to be a good leader no matter what, right? Like you can't expect outsourcing something and not being a good leader, not having good SOPs. What happens is people like, oh, I'm going to hire a virtual assistant, and they're going to edit videos. They're going to be a transaction coordinator on my real estate business. Let's face it, guys. Nobody has 20 different skill sets like that. You gotta have multiple virtual team members. So you got to really identify what the first team member is going to look like. What are their tasks going to be? And it can't, like, people that are good at editing videos typically aren't going to be the best executive assistants, right? Like there's just differences. So that's why I have 3 right now. Really, the team needs to start growing if I want to grow more. And so you grow. The nice thing too is you can grow very systematically. And so that's why I believe everybody needs to start incorporating virtual team members into their business model. If you're any kind of business, you might own a plumbing company. You could own a real estate brokerage, or be a real estate agent, mortgage broker, franchise broker, pretty much anything. Anybody needs an assistant. You can have an assistant that keeps your emails, does your scheduling, orders your groceries, right? Like you name it, you can think about it, you can outsource that. And that's what I love what Justin has done with the company. I respect the fact that Justin, at such an early age, really was such a great entrepreneur. And to this day, I like his thought process. I like how he does things. And I joined his authorized dealer program because I believe in everybody should have a virtual assistant. And I've had the same 2 that I've been with for SphereRocket for 5 years, right? So like I know, and the reality of it is, usually when the virtual assistants don't work, it's usually not the VA's fault. It's usually the person that had unrealistic expectations. So really, it comes down to like you being a good leader. And now that I work with people and I help them go from being a W-2 corporate employee to being a business owner and help them find a franchise, it's like, well, they're used to like being an employee. Now I got to say, okay, like you're now the boss. You got to build culture in your company. You got to create the right tone. It's the same thing what you have to do with virtual team members, because you're not in front of them day to day. What are you going to do? And then a lot of times what I found is that like we just say, oh, I've got a VA, right? Like, well, the VA's got a life too. The VA, right? The virtual team member is a person too. It's not like somebody you're going to just give a bunch of, like being a compassionate person and making them feel like they're on the team, right? And so that's where people go wrong, and they don't understand like how to work with people, right? And so I like the fact that SphereRocket helps people that have never had a virtual assistant really understand. They deliver SOPs, right? And then you can tweak them. They give you all the baseline stuff to become a good boss, to create the workflow, the systems, the tools, communicating through Slack, making things more efficient that way. So if you can figure that out and you can bring on team members, you will grow your business. And that's what I've done. I have 2 full-time video editors because I have a podcast, a YouTube show, and that, they do amazing editing. amazing editing. Then I have kind of a executive assistant that does a little bit of everything. And the next hire is probably going to be more of like a kind of a sales, like an inside sales kind of role where they're pulling data for ideal customers of mine, pulling of Avatar, and then you know, you got to really kind of build your org chart out how you can grow, and so that's why it's so powerful to be able to hire virtual team members. I mean, and Sphere Rocket makes it easy. Let's face it. You tell them what you're looking for. They're gonna give you what, like 4 to 7 different candidates to interview, and you know, and they'll prep you so you can understand how to interview. And so, like, if you can start getting the mindset right, you can really grow your business, because we're coming up to 2025 here in a couple months. If you want to take your business to the next level, you need to get yourself your first virtual assistant, or your second, or your third, or your fourth, or your fifth, and you have to embrace AI like ChatGPT, creating content. If, like, for me, I need more people to know who I am, because then they will, you know, use me for my services. So how do you do that? You create a podcast, you create social media, you create good content on and posts and reels. And so if you can outsource that, because I'm never going to be a good video editor. And so through my YouTube show, we've put out, like, I don't know, somewhere around 1,600 videos, which are evergreen, right? Because YouTube is evergreen. That YouTube channel creates a ton of money, because people find me, they book calls, I help them with what they need done, and I make money. And so I would have never been able to do that by myself. So that's the power of leveraging virtual team members.
Love that. Love that. Totally agree with you. You gotta start somewhere. Like what you've said, you started with one, then you figure out what the kind of help you still need, and then hiring all of those. And I love that perspective that you don't expect everything from one person to do everything. And I like what you said about leveraging as well. So just one last question about numbers wise within your business, like, yeah, for us to, like, have like a little bit of metrics on that. What was like the difference before you had a virtual assistant versus now that you have a virtual assistants team of three?
Yeah, so I would say that I get I'm actually going to do a podcast on this. What I've built, I get over 1,000 leads a year. So what does that quantify? I mean, not everybody, you know, that schedules a call is going to be a client right away. But my average candidate or person that, you know, comes to me on the lending side is worth several $1,000s in American U.S. money, right? And you know, when I help people buy franchises, it's extremely lucrative. So I don't need that many candidates to make a lot of money. And so most people that are in the roles that I am, they don't know how to fill top of funnel, right? Because it's, you know, customers or clients or candidates, whatever they are, depending on what services I'm offering. You need top of funnel, and to get top of funnel, you need to have a lead generation system. So I've created a lead generation system that keeps my calendar completely full. And I had the vision, but obviously I couldn't create the content. I couldn't do the creativity of editing. Like, they can take a crappy video that I shoot and make it look great, right? And make it engaging. And because of that, there are specific instances where I can account for a video that converted to me making on one customer $50,000 American. That's one. And there's been multiple times. So the point is the return on investment, I couldn't even put a gauge on it. If you're in any type of business that, you know, you're doing content creation or brand building, you can't do it yourself. And if you try to outsource it to like a marketing agency, they usually screw up. So you're better off building the infrastructure with a virtual team, because they'll get to know how you like the editing done. And so I'm very systematic. I have a Slack channel that goes new videos go in there. Then we have a channel that's edited. and I review them and I approve them. They post to YouTube. We optimize them for search using an app called TubeBuddy. Rank them in search. Organically, people find us every single day. So I guess the thing is, it's like a snowball, right? It starts small and then it just gets big, and like the leads just keep piling on. Every day my calendar is boom, boom, boom. It's actually become pretty amazing to see that. So ultimately, if you put out 1,600 videos, they're evergreen, meaning they're always there. And so they're like little mini employees or clones of you. So every day people are finding me, right? It could be from a video we shot 4 years ago, 3 years ago. So it's you can't put a number on the value, because what I've built is like an actual business, right? I'm not like going out and getting one customer to sell their house and then I have to go find another customer. I have an inbound flux of customers coming through the door. So that's the power of being able to leverage virtual team members to create content, to build brand. And then, what happens is you have other constraints in your business. Like now we got too many deals. So now we got to get another virtual team member to help with lead management, right? That's another position. You can have a position for marketing your database. I have, thousands of people in my database now. So there's lots of ways you can go. And then every virtual team member, right? Like I know what their costs are going to be for a year, right? It's going to be 40 hours a week or whatever, give or take. What's that cost per year? Every virtual team member I have, the return is huge compared to the investment every year. So I just look at it that same way. Every team member is going to give me a much better return. If I pay them if I pay $1, I'm going to get back $4 for that team member. So it's kind of a no-brainer. As long as you build the infrastructure where you can make that possible, you just grow your team that way. And ultimately, you create more wealth, you create better systems, and then you can not work as hard over time. And that's what we're doing.
Love that. Love that. Thank you so much, Beau, for joining us today in our podcast. I really learned a lot about you, especially with leveraging and how to take care of your business, especially with virtual team. And yeah, so much inspired with you. And yeah, so if you want to promote or give a shout out to anything, your podcast, I'm giving you the floor.
Yeah, check out my podcast. If you go to investorfinancing.tv, it takes you to my YouTube channel. You can check me out at beaueckstein.com. It's my first and last name. And then if you want to come to any of our virtual events we do, beaueckstein.com/events and see what we're all about.
Love that. Thank you so much, Beau. And yeah, there you have it, friends. Hope you learned from this episode. Don't forget to leave a comment and hit that subscribe button so you will never miss an episode. And until next time, my name is Sweet, and stay inspired and keep building those spheres of success.
Feeling overwhelmed by your business tasks? Well, it's time to step up your game. Visit www.sphererocketva.com and get a virtual assistant from us at Sphere Rocket VA. Streamline your business operations and focus on what really matters.